cheating scandal is top of mind as far as baseball fans are concerned, I believe. At least it is in my case. That and also just what's baseball going to do to get better? They haven't even touched publicly the Boston Red Sox situation. So tell me from a pitcher's point of view, and you're a left-handed pitcher, although I don't know that matters for the purposes of this discussion. Let's put me up there. I'm a 250 hitter. I'm a weak hitting shortstop. But I hit 250. But if I know what Brian Anderson is going to be throwing on this next pitch or at this at bat or the next at bat, what does that do to my 250 batting average?
Well, if you can say unequivocally that you go into an at-bat as a 250 hitter and you know every pitch that's going to come, let's just say you're going to leave 250 in the dust. I mean, you're talking about a 300-plus hitter at minimum. I mean, these hitters, even the 250 hitters, are good hitters. I mean, you're talking about the best of the best. Now, maybe they're not the best relative to their peer group, but their peer group are the best players in the world, hands down. If that guy knows what's coming and he can sit on a certain pitch, boy, he gets really good really fast. And so there is no doubt the advantage with hitters knowing what pitch is coming, whether it be a slider, a curveball, a fastball. They know right where to look for that pitch, the pitch they can handle, the pitch that they can handle, and they will become infinitely a better hitter. There's no doubt about it. And it's funny, I heard a question put to a pitcher. And they asked him, would you rather face a guy, it was the steroid, era a bigger problem, or, obviously the Houston Astros and knowing what's coming with the banging on the trash can and the cameras and all that. And while I think that overall that steroids were a bigger issue because it touched more players, more teams, and it was more widespread, I thought the answer that this pitcher gave, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but that he said, hands down, I'd rather face the steroid. The steroid guy doesn't know what's coming. Just because he's muscled up and maybe can do a little bit more damage than otherwise thought, or his bat's going to be a little bit quicker, he still doesn't know what's coming. The guy that knows what's coming is the guy you're afraid of. And that's the guy you don't. So that would be, yeah.
For the steroid players, I thought the interesting thing as it evolved was that everybody, we assumed Barry Bonds was doing what he was doing and a couple of other players like that. But it wasn't the Barry Bondses of the world that I thought was the problem, because he's going to hit the ball over the fence and maybe hit it 20 feet further with steroids. It's the third string catcher who just gets to hang on because maybe he adds 15 points to his batting average and becomes somebody who can play 30 games in a season as opposed to not getting above AAA.
Yeah, no, there's no question. It was abused all around the game. You would hear of guys coming back into spring training. He added 25 pounds of muscle. And you didn't even bat your eyes back then about that stuff. You just thought, yeah, that's the way that this, it's the way it works nowadays.
Yeah.
But then you talk to doctors and you go, okay, in the off season, I go home, I keep a clean diet, I work my tail off, and I want to add some mass before the following spring training. How much weight legitimately could I put on with no help? No steroids, no HGH, nothing. And they would tell you 12, 14 pounds max. And yet every year you heard about guys 20, 25 pounds heavier, stronger, muscle, and it wasn't even the muscle of being able to hit the ball further. You didn't tire as much. There were guys that I can look back on now that I played with, and you could tell when their cycle had ended, because all of a sudden ball's not going as far, bat's not as quick. You cycle back on, look at that. Bat's quick again. Ball's jumping. The miss hits are being hit well. And not only that, but there were pitchers. There were pitchers that abused that too. You would see guys that were 90, 92 mile an hour fastball guys come into spring training the next year, 95, 97. And you're like, how can you do that? We've kind of gotten to the point that we've maxed out our velocity, and yet these guys are jumping 3, 4, 5 miles an hour through the off season. And you really didn't put it all together until all this stuff started coming out. And then you're like, oh my gosh, everybody was doing it. I mean, really, it was as widespread as you can imagine.